The holographic projection flickered to life in the United Nations General Assembly, casting an eerie blue glow across the faces of world leaders. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the alien figure materialized, a towering, insectoid creature with compound eyes and chitinous armor. "People of Earth," its voice crackled through the speakers, a mix of clicks and hums translated into human language. "I am Grand Executor Zixtera of the Hive Collective. We have come to challenge your planet's mightiest warriors." Secretary General Amara Okafor leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "And if we refuse this challenge," the alien's mandibles clacked in what might have been amusement, "then your world shall forfeit its independence to the collective. We seek only the strongest among you. Fail to provide them, and we shall deem your species unworthy of self-governance." Panicked whispers erupted throughout the assembly. Admiral Jackson Thorne of the Global Defense Force stood up, his weathered face set in a scowl. "And just how do you define strongest, Bugface?" Zixtera's antennae twitched. "We seek those who have weathered the storms of time, whose very existence defies the entropy of your fragile organic forms. Bring us your eldest, your most seasoned combatants." Confusion rippled through the crowd. Elder statespersons? Retired military personnel? It was Dmitry Volkov, the usually quiet representative from Russia, who broke the stunned silence with a bark of laughter. "You want our strongest elders? Huh, I know just who we should send." All eyes turned to the grizzled diplomat as he pulled out his phone, fingers flying over the screen. "My babushka, Yelena, 87 years old, and she can still pin me in arm wrestling. And her wooden spoon?" He shuddered dramatically. "It is a weapon to be feared." A ripple of nervous laughter spread through the assembly, but Amara's eyes widened with sudden inspiration. "Wait, Dmitri might be onto something. What if we took this literally? Our strongest grandmothers?" Admiral Thorne spluttered. "You can't be serious. We need our best soldiers, our dash, our toughest warriors," Amara interrupted, a sly smile spreading across her face. "And who's tougher than a grandmother who's raised generations, survived wars, depressions, and still has the energy to spoil great-grandchildren?" The room erupted in a cacophony of arguments, but a seed had been planted. As the debate raged on, Zixtera observed with increasing bewilderment. These humans were perplexing creatures. In a small apartment in New York City, 82-year-old Esmeralda Ramirez felt her ancient flip phone buzz. The caller ID showed her granddaughter's number. "Abuela," came the excited voice. "You're not going to believe this, but how would you like to save the world?" Esmeralda chuckled, reaching for the wooden spoon she used to stir her famous arroz con pollo. "Mija, at my age, nothing surprises me anymore. But saving the world? Now that sounds like fun." Little did Esmeralda know, similar conversations were happening across the globe. In Lagos, retired schoolteacher Adebola Ogunlai received a call from the Nigerian government. In Mumbai, YouTube sensation Dottie G. Indira Patel paused her latest cooking video to answer an urgent message. And in a small village in the Australian outback, Aboriginal elder Marley Changala felt the winds of change stirring. The Hive Collective had demanded Earth's strongest. They were about to meet a force they never could have imagined. The planet's fiercest grandmothers, armed with wooden spoons and a lifetime of experience. As news of the unorthodox plan spread, reactions ranged from disbelief to unexpected hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, these unconquerable matriarchs held the key to humanity's survival. The scene at the hastily constructed Grandma Boot Camp was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Nestled in a remote valley, the facility buzzed with activity as grandmothers from every corner of the globe gathered, each clutching their own battle-worn wooden spoon. General Axel Ironside, a man who had faced down dictators and terrorists without flinching, found himself sweating nervously as he addressed the assembled matriarchs. "Ladies, you've been chosen for a mission of utmost importance. The fate of our planet rests in your, experienced hands." Esmeralda Ramirez, her silver hair tied back in a no-nonsense bun, raised an eyebrow. "Mijo, we've raised children during wars, famines, and disco. I think we can handle a few overgrown bugs." A chorus of agreement rippled through the crowd. Marley Changala, her dark skin etched with the wisdom of the Dreamtime, nodded sagely. We carry the strength of our ancestors. These aliens don't stand a chance. The training regimen was unconventional, to say the least. Obstacle courses designed to mimic chasing down runaway toddlers. Weightlifting sessions using oversized cast iron skillets. And, of course, advanced wooden spoon combat techniques. Adebola Ogunlai, former headmistress of Lagos' toughest school, took charge of the latter. Remember, ladies, it's all on the wrist. A good swing can stop a charging rhino or an unruly alien. As days turned into weeks, the grandmother's progress was nothing short of astounding. What they lacked in raw physical power, they more than made up for in tenacity, cunning, and sheer force of will. Indira Patel, between rigorous training sessions, couldn't resist setting up her phone to record. Namaste, my dear viewers. Today, we're making my special alien begone curry. First, take one wooden spoon. News of Operation Wooden Spoon leaked to the public, as secrets inevitably do. Reactions were mixed, to put it mildly. Have our leaders lost their minds? Thundered political pundit Maxwell Blowhard on his nightly broadcast. Sending grandmas to face an alien menace? It's madness. But for every skeptic, there seemed to be two supporters. Memes spread like wildfire across social media. T-shirts bearing the slogan, "My grandma went to fight aliens, and all I got was this lousy shirt," became overnight bestsellers. In the Oval Office, President Zoe Blackwood fielded a call from a very confused Zixtera. "Your eldest females? With primitive wooden utensils? Surely, this is some form of deception." Zoe, thinking quickly, put on her best poker face. "I assure you, Grand Executor, we are sending our mightiest warriors as requested. Their weapons are simply ceremonial, a sign of their great power." As she hung up, Zoe couldn't help but chuckle. The alien clearly had no idea what was coming. Back at the training facility, final preparations were underway. Each grandmother was fitted with a custom-designed exosuit, carefully disguised to look like a comfy cardigan and orthopedic shoes. The suits would enhance their strength and mobility, while still allowing for the all-important wooden spoon wielding. Esmeralda, inspecting her new gear, couldn't resist a grin. "Ooh, it even has pockets for my hard candies. Those aliens won't know what hit them." As the day of departure drew near, an air of quiet determination settled over the camp. These women had faced a lifetime of challenges: wars, economic depressions, ungrateful children, and yes, even disco. But this would be their greatest test yet. Marley Changala, her eyes glinting with mischief, raised her wooden spoon high. "Sisters, are we ready to show these whippersnappers from the stars what real strength looks like?" The resounding cheer that followed could have been heard in the next galaxy. As the grandmothers boarded their transport, a mix of state-of-the-art spacecraft and what suspiciously resembled a flying rocking chair, General Ironside found himself fighting back tears. "Godspeed, ladies. The Earth is counting on you." Esmeralda patted his cheek affectionately. "Don't you worry, Mijo. We'll be back in time for supper. And we're bringing company." With a whoosh and the faint scent of freshly baked cookies, Operation Wooden Spoon blasted off towards its rendezvous with destiny. The Hive Collective was about to learn a valuable lesson. Never underestimate a grandmother with a mission. The massive Hive Collective mothership loomed against the backdrop of stars, its biomechanical surface pulsing with an otherworldly glow. Inside the Earth vessel, affectionately dubbed the Flying Teacup by its crew, tension mixed with an oddly comforting scent of lavender and gunpowder. Esmeralda Ramirez, appointed as the unofficial leader of Operation Wooden Spoon, adjusted her glasses and peered at the alien craft. "Oomph, I've seen scarier-looking casseroles at church potlucks." Adebola Ogunlai, former headmistress turned space diplomat, chuckled. "Let's hope they're not as indigestible, dear." As their ship docked with a metallic clang, the grandmothers straightened their cardigans, secretly reinforced with cutting-edge armor, and gripped their wooden spoons tightly. The airlock hissed open, revealing a delegation of Hive Collective warriors. Grand Executor Zixtera's compound eyes widened in what might have been shock, or possibly indigestion. These are your mightiest warriors? But they're so small and wrinkled. Marley Chingala stepped forward, her eyes glinting with ancient wisdom and a hint of mischief. Size isn't everything, young whippersnapper. Haven't you ever heard that good things come in small packages? The alien delegation chittered amongst themselves, clearly thrown off balance. This was not what they had expected. Indira Patel, ever the peacemaker, reached into her oversized handbag. Now, let's not get off on the wrong foot, or mandible, or whatever you have. Would anyone like a nice samosa? Fresh baked this morning. The scent of spices wafted through the air, causing several of the insectoid aliens to twitch their antennae curiously. One brave, or hungry, warrior stepped forward, gingerly accepting the offered treat. What followed was a cascade of chaos that would be remembered in galactic history books for eons to come. The alien's exoskeleton began to glow, an alarming shade of purple. It let out a sound somewhere between a sneeze and a steam whistle, then began to dance what could only be described as an intergalactic version of the Macarena. "Oh my!" Indira exclaimed, genuinely surprised. "I didn't realize the effect turmeric would have on their biology." Zixtera's mandibles clacked in agitation. What manner of chemical warfare is this? Esmeralda, quick on her feet despite her age, saw an opportunity. "It's not warfare, dearie. It's seasoning. Something your lot could clearly use a bit more of." The grandmothers fanned out, wielding their wooden spoons with the precision of master fencers. Adebola's voice rang out, channeling years of classroom authority. "Now listen here, you overgrown grasshoppers. We're going to have a nice, civilized chat about this invasion nonsense." What unfolded over the next few hours defied all expectations, on both sides. The grandmothers, drawing on lifetimes of experience in conflict resolution, from schoolyard squabbles to international diplomacy, began to break down cultural barriers. They listened to the Hive Collective's grievances, offered sage advice, and weren't afraid to deliver a swift rap on the carapace with a wooden spoon when necessary. Marley shared Dreamtime stories that resonated with the aliens' own mythologies. Indira taught a group of fascinated warriors how to knit, their claws clicking together comically as they attempted to master pearl stitches. Esmeralda, in a moment of brilliance, challenged Zixtera to a game of intergalactic chess, with the fate of Earth hanging in the balance. The match lasted for hours, spectators from both species watching with bated breath, or whatever passed for breath among the insectoids. As dawn broke over the Earth, visible through the mothership's viewing ports, Esmeralda made her final move. "Checkmate, sweetie." Zixtera's antennae drooped in defeat, but there was a newfound respect in its multifaceted eyes. Never in all our conquests have we encountered beings such as you. Your strength is not in your bodies, but in your, what do you call it? Gumption. Adebola supplied with a wink, and a dash of good old-fashioned common sense. The Hive Collective huddled, chittering furiously among themselves. The grandmothers waited, wooden spoons at the ready, unsure if they'd be heading home for tea or gearing up for an intergalactic throwdown. Finally, Zixtera turned to address them. "We came seeking the strongest among you. We believe we have found them." A cheer went up from the human delegation, only to be quickly shushed by Esmeralda. "That's very nice, dear. But what, exactly, does that mean for Earth?" Zixtera's mandibles curved in what might have been a smile. "It means, honored elders, that we have much to learn from your species. We propose an exchange of knowledge." And so, as the sun rose over Earth that had been pulled back from the brink of invasion, a new chapter in human-alien relations began. One built not on military might or advanced technology, but on the timeless wisdom of grandmothers and the universal language of a well-wielded wooden spoon. As the Earth vessel prepared for its return journey, Marley Chingala couldn't resist one last quip. "Well, girls, looks like we've got some new grandkids to spoil, even if they are a bit on the buggy side." As news of the grandmother's diplomatic triumph spread across Earth, the initial disbelief quickly gave way to a tidal wave of pride and excitement. The planet buzzed with anticipation for the cultural exchange program that was about to begin. Esmeralda Ramirez stood at the podium, addressing a sea of reporters and dignitaries. Her eyes twinkled mischievously behind her glasses. Who would have thought that the secret to intergalactic peace was a good whack with a wooden spoon and some home-cooked meals? The first wave of Hive Collective exchange students arrived on Earth amid much fanfare. Watching the massive insectoids attempt to navigate human customs was a sight to behold. At a welcoming ceremony in New York, a particularly enthusiastic alien named Click Clack attempted to greet Mayor Fatima Rodriguez with a traditional Hive handshake. The result? A tangled mess of limbs and antennae that took 10 minutes and 3 grandmothers to untangle. "Oh, for heaven's sake," Adebola Ogunlime muttered, rolling up her sleeves. "It's like watching my great-grandchildren try to use chopsticks all over again." But it wasn't all awkward cultural faux pas and misunderstandings. The exchange brought about some truly remarkable developments. In Mumbai, Indira Patel's cooking channel exploded in popularity when she introduced a series called Cosmic Cuisine. Viewers tuned in by the millions to watch her attempt to recreate Hive Collective delicacies using Earth ingredients. "Today, my dears, we're making Xyrillian zest pods," Indira announced, holding up what looked suspiciously like a blue potato. Now, I know it's not quite the same without the bioluminescent algae from Proxima Centauri, but we'll make do. Meanwhile, in the Australian outback, Marley Chingala found herself leading a group of fascinated aliens on walkabout. The sight of the towering insectoids attempting to master the didgeridoo quickly became a viral sensation. No, Marley chuckled, gently correcting an alien's technique. "You need to use your mandibles, not your antennae. That's it. Now you're getting it." But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural differences led to some tense moments that required all the grandmothers' diplomatic skills, and occasionally, their wooden spoons, to resolve. In Moscow's Red Square, a misunderstanding over the concept of queuing nearly sparked an international incident. It took Dmitry Volkov's grandmother, Yelena, armed with her infamous wooden spoon and a batch of pierogi, to calm the situation. "Listen up, you overgrown cicadas," Yelena bellowed, her voice cutting through the chaos. "In Russia, we stand in line like civilized beings. Now, who wants a nice, warm pyrishok while we sort this out?" The combination of stern grandmotherly authority and comfort food worked wonders. Soon, humans and aliens alike were happily munching on Russian pastries, crisis averted. As weeks turned into months, something extraordinary began to happen. The presence of the aliens, strange as it was, seemed to be bringing out the best in humanity. Old rivalries were set aside as nations worked together to accommodate their extraterrestrial guests. In a historic moment, longtime enemies agreed to a peace treaty, inspired by the sight of their respective grandmothers teaching a group of Hive Collective warriors how to knit peace scarves. But perhaps the most profound changes were happening on a smaller scale, in homes and communities around the world. In a small town in Nebraska, local grandmother Mildred Hawkins found herself hosting ZYX, a young Hive scout with a penchant for Earth sweets. What started as a rocky relationship, ZYX accidentally destroyed Mildred's prized petunias while attempting to pollinate them, blossomed into something beautiful. "Oh, land's sakes," Mildred laughed, watching ZYX attempt to bake chocolate chip cookies with its many appendages. "You remind me so much of my Jimmy when he was little. Always making a mess, but with such a good heart." ZYX's antennae wiggled happily. "Mildred Grand Matriarch, is this the emotion you call love?" Mildred's eyes misted over as she patted ZYX's exoskeleton. "I do believe it is, sugar. I do believe it is." As the exchange program flourished, Earth found itself changing in ways no one could have predicted. Advancements in technology, medicine, and environmental science leapt forward as human ingenuity combined with alien knowledge. But more importantly, a new sense of unity began to spread, not just among humans, but between Earth and the stars. Esmeralda, watching a sunset with Grand Executor Zixtera on the International Space Station, couldn't help but chuckle. "You know, when I was a little girl, I never imagined I'd be floating in space, sharing tea with a big old bug from another world." Zixtera's compound eyes seemed to twinkle. And I, Esmeralda Wisdom Bearer, never imagined I would find such strength in beings so squishy. As they clinked their space-worthy teacups together, both couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning of a grand adventure. The universe, it seemed, had a lot to learn from Earth's grandmothers and their trusty wooden spoons. As the first year of the Human Hive Collective Exchange drew to a close, Earth buzzed with anticipation for the upcoming Intergalactic Unity Festival. The event, set to take place simultaneously across multiple continents and even on the Hive mothership, would celebrate the extraordinary bonds forged between the two species. In New York Central Park, Esmeralda Ramirez supervised the construction of a stage that seemed to defy the laws of physics, a blend of human architecture and hive bioengineering. A little to the left, BZZ, she called out to an alien worker. We want everyone to see the wooden spoon of harmony display. Meanwhile, in Lagos, Adebola Ogunlai was putting the final touches on her speech. And so, my dear friends, both terrestrial and extraterrestrial, we stand on the brink of a new era. An era where the wisdom of age and the wonder of the cosmos dance together in perfect harmony. As the festivities kicked off around the globe, it became clear that this was more than just a celebration. It was a turning point for both civilizations. In Tokyo, a team of human scientists and hive engineers unveiled a revolutionary clean energy source inspired by the bioluminescent properties of the aliens' exoskeletons. It's not cold fusion, Dr. Yuki Tanaka explained to a captivated audience. It's cool fusion. On the shores of the Great Barrier Reef, Marley Chingla led a mixed group of humans and aliens in a ceremony to activate a hive-human co-created device. With a flash of otherworldly light, the device began to reverse years of coral bleaching, restoring vibrant life to the ocean. Our Dreamtime stories speak of the great spirits healing the land, Marley said, her voice thick with emotion. Who would have thought they'd arrive in a spaceship? But amidst the celebration, a shadow loomed. News reached Earth of a rapidly approaching threat. The Void Swarm, a mindless, planet-devouring force that had already laid waste to several hive collective outposts. As panic began to spread, it was Indira Patel who stepped up to the global broadcast system, her calm voice reaching every corner of the planet and beyond. My dears, she began, adjusting her sari. I know you're frightened. But let me tell you about the time I faced down a tiger with nothing but a rolling pin and a bad attitude. What followed was a masterclass in crisis management, grandma style. Indira's story of courage in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds resonated across species barriers. By the time she finished, humans and hive alike were ready to face the Void Swarm head-on. The next weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Grandmothers worldwide mobilized their communities, coordinating evacuation plans, stockpiling supplies, and even training defense militias. The sight of Yelena Volkov drilling a platoon of Russian babushkas and hive warriors in the art of advanced wooden spoon combat became an iconic image of the resistance. As the Void Swarm entered the solar system, Earth unveiled its secret weapon, a massive planetary shield, powered by the combined life force of every willing human and hive member. At its core stood our intrepid grandmothers, their wooden spoons raised high, channeling a lifetime of love, wisdom, and sheer stubbornness into the shield. The battle that followed would be sung about in both human and hive legends for generations to come. The Void Swarm crashed against the shield like waves upon a shore, each impact met with a surge of defiance from the united forces of Earth. In the command center, Esmeralda gripped her spoon tightly, sweat beading on her brow. Hold steady, Ms. Amores. We didn't come this far to let some cosmic dust bunnies push us around. For 3 days and nights, the shield held. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The remnants of the Void Swarm, unable to penetrate the unbreakable bond between humans and hive, retreated into the depths of space. As the dust settled and the celebrations began anew, Grand Executor Zixtera approached the group of grandmothers who had become the unlikeliest of heroes. In all our travels, Zixtera clicked, mandibles quivering with emotion, we have never encountered beings of such strength, such wisdom, such Spoon-wielding ferocity. The Hive Collective formally requests to establish a permanent alliance with Earth. Esmeralda, her silver hair slightly singed from the battle, grinned widely. Well, it's about time you asked, dearie. We were beginning to think you'd never make an honest planet of us. And so, as the sun rose on a new day, Earth found itself not just saved, but elevated to a new status in the galactic community. The planet that had once been considered a cosmic backwater was now a shining example of unity, innovation, and the power of grandmotherly love. As for our heroic grandmothers, they did what they did best. They adapted. Intergalactic bake sales, cross-species knitting circles, and of course, the now famous Milky Way Wooden Spoon Fencing League became new traditions in this brave new cosmos. Esmeralda, looking out at the stars from her new apartment on the International Space Station, couldn't help but chuckle. You know, she mused to no one in particular, I always told my grandkids they could reach for the stars. I just never thought I'd be here to smack those stars into shape with my wooden spoon. As laughter echoed through the station, mingling with the clicks and hums of their new alien friends, one thing became crystal clear. In a universe full of wonders, sometimes the most powerful force of all is a grandmother with a wooden spoon and a heart full of love.